This 9-minute video is going to look at paraphrasing and how to do it properly using APA, the 7th edition. Paraphrasing is when you put information that you read into your own words. It's expressing an author's idea in your own way. Paraphrasing is an important skill to be able to do. In most papers that you write, you will paraphrase more than you quote. Your teachers do not want to receive a paper that is all quotations, because then you haven't shown that you have understood what you have read. Quoting is just copying. In order to demonstrate understanding, which is what your teachers want to see, you have to be able to put ideas in your own words. The majority of plagiarism comes from paraphrasing incorrectly or inappropriately. This is because there are 4 rules that you must follow every single time that you paraphrase. If you break just one of the rules, you have paraphrased incorrectly, and the entire paper can now be considered a plagiarized paper, which can lead to you receiving a 0 on that paper and also a letter in your file. So what are the 4 rules? Rule number 1. You need to include your in-text citation in parentheses directly after every single paraphrase you write. Remember, in APA, you need the author's last name and the year of publication in an in-text citation. Including a page number isn't necessary, but it is helpful. If you forget your in-text citation or you do it incorrectly, your paper is considered plagiarized. Rule number 2. You must change the words that you can possibly change. Paraphrasing means saying the information in your own way, so if a word has a logical synonym, you must use it. Some words don't have synonyms, usually nouns, so if you can't change the word, don't just use any similar word or a word that sounds strange in your sentence. I'll give you some examples in the next slides. Rule number 3. You must change the sentence structure from the original, or the way the sentence is organized. It is not enough to just change a few words. You must change the structure too. I will give you a few examples of this, again in the next slides. Finally, rule number 4. You have to make sure to not change the meaning from the original sentence. This can be tricky when you have to change the words and the sentence structure, so take care. I will give you some examples again in the next slides. Remember, you must follow all 4 of these rules every time you paraphrase. Getting 3 out of 4 correct is not sufficient. You must get 4 out of 4. So let's take a look at an example. The first sentence that you see is a sentence from a book. Talene worried about passing the very difficult test. The following 2 sentences below are both attempts at paraphrasing the first sentence. Paraphrase number 1, receiving a passing grade on the exam, which was very hard, concerned Talene. And paraphrase number 2, Talene was worried about receiving good marks on the test, which was very difficult. One of these 2 paraphrases is a plagiarized sentence, and one of them is correct. Which one is the correct paraphrase? The correct paraphrase is this one. Receiving a passing grade on the exam, which was very hard, concerned Talene. This one has some problems. What are the problems? Well, rule number 1 is in-text citation, and we can see that the person did include an in-text citation, Lewis, 2004, page 147. Rule number 2 is changing the words that you can change. If we look at the one in red, this person has not changed the words that they could change. They kept the same word worried as the original and difficult. Just these 2 words, keeping them the same, means that this person has plagiarized. If we consider rule number 3, sentence structure, we can see in the bottom one, the person has kept the same sentence structure. They started with the subject, Talene, continued with the verb, worried. If we look at the first one in green, we can see that the subject, Talene, and the verb comes at the end of the sentence. This is what we mean by sentence structure. And finally, do the 2 sentences mean the same thing? So in the first one, Talene worried about passing the very difficult test, and the red one, we can see they do not mean the same thing. In the first one, Talene is worried about passing, and in the second one, she's worried about receiving good marks. These things mean very different things. So in this case, this person has broken 3 out of the 4 paraphrasing rules. Let's look at some other paraphrasing problems. Here is an original document. The young boy was served his salad and he threw a tomato across the room. And here's an attempt at paraphrasing it. The little man pitched a tomato to the other side of the room when the waiter brought him his chopped lettuce. The first problem here is the person has used some inappropriate word choices. For example, changing the young boy to the little man isn't quite the same thing. When we say was served his salad and changed it to chopped lettuce, again, it doesn't mean quite the same thing and it just sounds a little strange. Finally, the inappropriate paraphrase included the word waiter. In the original document, there's no indication that the boy was served his lettuce by a waiter, so we've now changed the meaning slightly. Finally, if we look at the in-text citation, Wheeler, page 7, there's a problem. We're missing the date. When you don't have a date, you put N.D. Here is a better attempt at paraphrasing. The child pitched a tomato to the other side of the room when he was brought a salad. Wheeler, N.D. page 7. Here is another paraphrasing problem. The original document reads, after the investigation, detectives demonstrated that blunt force trauma certainly was the cause of death. And here's an attempt at paraphrasing it. After looking into the crime, detectives were able to show that blunt force trauma definitely was the reason the victim died. So when we're looking at this, we can see that the person has changed the words. However, they have not changed the sentence structure. So if we look here, after the investigation, the person has changed it to after looking into the crime. Here we have detectives demonstrated, and the change was detectives were able to show. And finally, certainly was the cause of death. The person changed it to definitely was the reason the victim died. So the word change is appropriate, but the order of the sentence is exactly the same in both, making it inappropriate paraphrasing. Finally, we can see the in-text citation is incorrect. So let's look at a good way to paraphrase the original document. Detectives were able to show that the reason the victim died was due to blunt force trauma after they looked into the crime. And we can see that we put a little and symbol in between the author's last names. So in this case, we've changed the words, we've changed the sentence structure, but we haven't changed the meaning. So remember, when you are paraphrasing, you must follow the 4 rules. Include an in-text citation, the author's last name and the year, as well as the page number if you have it. Make sure you change the words that you can change from the original. Make sure you change the sentence structure or the way the sentence is organized, but don't ever change the meaning from the original. If you have questions about paraphrasing or you need more information, just smile myself, Kim Muncie. You can also watch the other APA videos about what is plagiarism, how to do in-text citations properly, how to do your references, and how to quote properly.